So if you are not doing that, you're sort of cheating yourself and the organization. So I would recommend that you share. Maybe you don't have to share everything. Maybe if you're a three-time Olympian, you just say, I'm an Olympian, and you tell them you went one time or something. I mean, you don't have to necessarily give them everything. But I think sometimes when you do share, you also invite others to share because they realize, well, yeah, Pam's sharing this. I might as well tell them that I did X, Y, and Z because we want to maximize everyone's skills and talents to be a better team. And by not doing that, you're almost kind of cheating the people you
Exactly.
work with. So
Hey guys, welcome to Keep On Pushing Stories, where of course we do a deep dive into real life stories and mindsets of people who have done remarkable things, pushing past obstacles, mowing down their limits no matter the odds, stories of persistence, perseverance, determination, stories that we think that you would relate to, stories we think you could benefit from. So if you are ready to keep on pushing past your challenges, I'm excited to introduce Pam Dukes to you. Pam, welcome to Keep On
hi,
Pushing Stories.
thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to have you. We always start by asking Pam what it is that you do. How do you serve? How do you bring value to the lives of others?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I'm a parent, so I would say I bring value to my son and my family, my dad and my brother. But as far as a profession, my title is Director of Agile Practices. So essentially, I'm like an Agile coach. I coach technology teams and I teach them a different way of working and how to just become better teammates and deliver high value products.
Um, any can you give us some insights as to how you achieve that?
How I get them to be better or how I
Yeah,
got
yeah.
here.
Yeah,
Okay.
how to get them to be better.
Um, Well, first there's a framework. There's something called an agile framework. And in most technology and software groups, there's been a shift in the industry to start trying to work in a more agile fashion. And what that means is previously, if you're working in a waterfall fashion, you would have to go get all the requirements for what you were going to build first and get sign off and document them all. And this could take months or longer. And then you have to figure out, okay, now what are we going to design? What's it going to look like? What's our application going to look like? And then when you finish that, you can start actually building it. And then once you're done with that, you start testing it. And the big thing there is normally you talk to the customer at the beginning and say, what is it you need? And then you don't really talk to them that much again until you start testing it. And that can go a very long time.
Mhm.
But when you're working in an agile fashion, it's broken up into pieces. So you get some idea of what you want to build, talking with your customer, and then you do time boxes of anywhere from a week to a month. Normally it's 2 weeks. And at the end of 2 weeks, you actually put something in the customer's hand so they can say, yes, I like it or I don't. And then you get their feedback in as you continue to give them pieces of what you're building. So there's a lot more customer input and you're able to build things in smaller chunks versus trying to document everything at the beginning, which is usually not always right and taking an excessive amount of time. So just being agile, being able to get things done quicker is a way to hopefully make the customer happy and then help the people who are making the work or doing the work happy so they can get things done in little pieces versus one big piece.
Mhm. Awesome. So, Pam, if someone wanted to tap into your intellect, your talent, how would they find you?
LinkedIn is my
LinkedIn.
sweet spot. I go on every morning. I'm liking posts. I'm making connections. I usually post weekly. I haven't posted yet, but I plan on it. But yeah, that is my social media. I have Facebook presence, but that's mostly talking about my son and what's going on with him. So those are my
Mhm.
two.
All right, cool. All right. So here's the crux of the matter here. We always get to this part. We would
Mhm.
love to hear your keep on pushing story, Pam. We would like to hear of a time when you had to push past your limits or step out of your comfort zone, whatever it was, against all odds to accomplish something or just to get to the next level. So please do
Okay.
tell us your keep on pushing story.
Well, you said the magic word comfort zone. I've been on a big comfort zone, getting out of it kick for a while. And essentially, what I did was once I retired from competing in track and field and getting more in the workspace, at some point, I started hiding my history. So, as you know, I'm an Olympic athlete. And initially, when I would share that in the business world, it's cool and everybody wants to know. And oh my gosh, it's exciting. But then at some point, I found that I wasn't as included in the happy hours or the lunches and so forth. And somehow in my brain, I told myself, they don't want me to go because of all the stuff I got going on. And so
Yes.
I need to get rid of that. So I actually started hiding my history. So when I join a new company and they ask, tell me about yourself, it's like, oh, I work in technology, I grew up in New Jersey, and I just left out all of the athletic
Mhm.
stuff. And I found that that suited me. And the crazy thing is that I didn't realize I was doing it. So this went on for maybe 10 plus years. And I actually took a class, a goal setting class, where I kind of did a root cause analysis because I realized I'm hiding who I am. Why? And after asking so many questions, I realized I did it because I felt like my coworkers wouldn't be my friend once they knew my history. So, needless to say, I decided, okay, this is ridiculous. You spend all your life working for something, and then all of a sudden you just decide to just put it in the closet. So, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to be me. I'm going to tell all of my story. And if people embrace it, great. And if not, then they're not for me anyway. And this was actually a big breakthrough. I remember at the time, my boss who had hired me, he had no idea I was an Olympian. And one time we were sitting at the coffee bar and I'm trying to plan some training with him. And I said, I think I should tell him I'm an Olympic athlete. And he said, what? You're a what? And that's the level of hiding that I had done. So it sort of helped me realize that, first of all, everyone's not going to like you. You shouldn't try to bend who you are and what you share just based on the audience. And that when you really get more into being your dynamic and your authentic self, it's embraced more and opportunities come up. So had to been able to go to conferences and speaking engagements, and I'm very motivational, as I'm told, and that's why I'm actually a coach in real life. So I realized that just by recognizing my strength and doing what I was meant to do, that everything would fall into place. So I'm grateful to be on the other side of the hiding.
So let me ask you this: during the times when you were hiding,
Mhm.
um, and you felt that your coworkers weren't liking
Mhm.
you, so to speak, because you're an Olympian, was that real or was that imagined?
I think it's a little of both. My mom used to tell me that when I showed up in a room, I was the brightest star and everybody else's light sort of dimmed. And, I'm trying to put myself in their place. At some point, I want to be the brightest star. And, if Pam
Mhm.
shows up, there goes the room. So I don't know that it was done maliciously. I think people were just trying to find, their ability to stand out. Um, and so, again, I think part of it's also my interpretation of what happened. It could have been a completely different reason why I wasn't included in some of the events. But
Yeah.
I noticed when I hid that part, everything opened up. So, it's very easy to tell your mind, this is what happened. So just hide that. Be somebody else for a little while. And that's what I did.
So you eventually decided to be your authentic self. As you were
Hmm.
talking, that's what I thought of, and you actually used that term. Um,
Hmm.
was it that goal setting session that helped you to flip the switch, or did something else happen?
No, it was definitely there was exercises we did in that session where I realized I was doing it. And then I realized that not only was it that I needed to share it, but I needed to start making the connections from being an elite athlete to working with teams in the workplace because a lot of people don't understand a team is a team. And you don't have to have played softball or basketball or run track or anything to know that there's a lot of similarities there. And when you have done that, I find that a lot of people who I feel are better teammates had some connection to being on a team. And so what I tried to do was take the lessons I've learned from training and competing in college and professionally to being in the workplace and being on a team. I think one of the things that still surprises me is people don't realize they're on a team. No matter what they do, they're part of a team. If you work in HR, you're part of the HR team. If you're a
Mhm.
recruiter, wherever you're working in sales, you guys are all a team, depending on how they split you up in your organization. And with that, you have to understand team dynamics. You have to figure out how to make your team a high performing team. And as an individual, you have to become better than you are to contribute to the team. And once I started digging into this, I just saw all the connections from sports and professional, and I realized, oh my God, this is going to be so easy for me, because it's almost like it's just blinking. Like, this is what you do here, and this is
Mhm.
what you do here, and it's the same. It's just using a little bit different verbiage, but that's how it's done.
So once you decided to own your history and be authentic, you felt that you were
Hmm.
able to be more effective at work.
Hmm. Absolutely. When people find out I'm an Olympic athlete, they kind of sit back like, whoa, okay. So, and I tell them, yeah, I'm an expert on teams. And what are they going to say? You can't possibly know anything about
Exactly.
teams. You
Yeah.
want to see the pictures? I mean, come on. It's pretty simple. But the thing I think that I like is that I have this skill set where I can recognize when you just kind of parachute in and watch teams. You can see the dynamics, you can see how they interact, how they support each other, how some folks don't say anything, how some folks take over and run everything, and cut people off, and there are all these different things, how they manage conflict, how they cooperate and collaborate. And it's really easy for me just sitting as an outsider watching, like, okay, yeah, we got to fix that, yeah, that needs to be fixed, that need to be fixed. I'll give you an example. There's one person whom I've worked with who, he comes from a different culture, and he's got strong opinions. He's very smart, but he's just used to speaking no matter who's talking. So say you're talking now, and I had an idea. Instead of waiting, I would just talk over you. And when I
Mhm.
saw that, I thought, oh, okay, we got to fix this. And again, it's a different culture, so I had to explain to him that when someone's speaking and you interrupt them, it throws off their track of thought. It's disrespectful. It makes people less likely to contribute because nobody wants to be cut off and treated that way. And it sort of damages the whole feeling amongst the team members. And I said, it's really simple. If something comes to you while I'm speaking, just pick up a pen and jot down what you want to say. Just write it down.
Mhm.
Make sure you bring this up when it's done. That's it. And now that you've jotted it down, you don't have to blurt it out because it's not going anywhere. Then you can simply raise your hand and you can contribute. On LinkedIn, of course, I told you I love LinkedIn. There was one post that talked about, if you were the person getting interrupted, here's some strategies for what you could do. One of them is, they say, may I finish? One of them is, they say, you talk louder. There's all these different things you could do. And
Mhm.
I thought, wow, some of these are kind of harsh. But the most important thing is you got to get the person who's doing the interrupting. You need to take them aside and have a conversation and say, listen, you've got great ideas. I love working with you. We got to get you to stop interrupting people. And for some, they don't even realize, oh, was I doing that? I'm sorry. I didn't. So you have to bring it to their awareness and then hopefully give them strategies they can use so they don't do that. I used to finish people's sentences. I remember when I was younger, I had a team I managed, and this one guy talked really slowly. And in my brain, I told myself, when I finish his sentence, I'm showing him how connected I am to him because I know what he's going to say.
Right.
Then I went to an active listening class and they showed me, oh my God, that is the worst thing you could do. That's terrible. It's disrespectful. So I went back to him and apologized and told him that I did not realize. I am so sorry and I will not do it again. So one of the
Indeed.
techniques I've learned is, when you're speaking, if I got something to say, I just jot it down and I wait my
So,
turn.
I'm thinking back to shying away from owning the fact that you're an Olympian. And,
Mhm.
we live in a world where I think people generally think highly of Olympic athletes. So, what advice would you have, having experienced this? What advice would you have for someone who's not necessarily an Olympic athlete but have achieved in a remarkable way and somehow feel that in their new environment they need to, for want of a better term, dumb down their experience so they may fit in?
Mhm. Well, I first would say you have to do what's right for you. I mean, you have to be comfortable in your workspace. But I would also just remind them that everybody has unique skills and talents. So everybody who's showing up into your organization brings something to the table. And our goal is to maximize our skills and talents for the better of our organization. So if you are not doing that, you're sort of cheating yourself and the organization. So I would recommend that you share. Maybe you don't have to share everything. Maybe if you're a three-time Olympian, you just say, I'm an Olympian, and you tell them you went one time or something. I mean, you don't have to necessarily give them everything. But I think sometimes when you do share, you also invite others to share because they realize, well, yeah, Pam's sharing this. I might as well tell them that I did X, Y, and Z because, we want to maximize everyone's skills and talents to be a better team. And by not doing that, you're almost kind of cheating the people you
Exactly.
work with. So it's uncomfortable because we're raised to taught to be humble and, particularly for women to not, just be grateful and, not to feel like we have to stand out or anything. So
Yes.
you definitely have to get used to it. But I have found that it's taken me all of my life to get to the point where I am, and I've worked hard. And so I need to use all that because why would you spend all that time on something if you're not going to use it? It doesn't make any sense. There's no logical reason that says, hey, you should, be a well-published author or something, and then just decide, I'm not going to tell anybody. It doesn't make any sense.
Do you find that there's a bigger issue in the workplace for women to be their authentic self?
Oh, yeah. I think it's a lot better now and it's growing, but I can remember when I worked, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago that, you know, I was definitely let's see, what's the word? I was just more present versus feeling like I had to do all these different things and contribute and solve everything. Um, I definitely feel like as a good team member then, it was easier for me to kind of sit back and see how things went and then figure out what my place was. Um, there's so many labels that people get. If you raise your hand and, if you're assertive, some people see that as a different way. Women are well, strong women. Why is she being so like this, that, and the other? Not everybody's comfortable or they can accept that or they've been in that environment. So sometimes you have to read the room and figure out what works for you. I think it's a lot better, and there's a lot of role models out there who are saying a lot of what I'm saying that make it easier for women. But
Mhm.
it's just, I wouldn't say it's easy. I think the most important thing is you have to know when to, to kind of be out there and sharing, and when sometimes to just observe and, figure out what you really want to say and what your opinion is, and then bring that up at the appropriate part.
Indeed. So, Pam, in all this, what would you say is the biggest lesson or lessons that you walked away from this experience with?
Um, that you are your number one fan, and that if you don't promote yourself, why would anybody else?
Indeed, you are, and you ought to be your number one fan. Really, really inspiring, really powerful story. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. There are so many people who aspire to be an Olympian, and here it is, you're an Olympian, and at one point you felt that you needed to hide that fact. But
Hmm.
I think there are other people out there who are yeah, hiding some of their greatest accomplishments so that they can fit
Hmm.
in. But you're absolutely right. Not being your full authentic self prevents you from fully contributing to the team. You cheat yourself, you cheat the team, and no one wins in that situation. Thank you so much, Pam,
Yeah,
for spending time with us on Keep On Pushing Stories.
absolutely. My pleasure.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Okay. So, guys, if you enjoyed this, if you found it valuable, please share it with someone who you think might benefit from this. And if you like more amazing, inspiring content like this, then drop us a like and a follow. Until then, you know the deal. Keep on pushing.